to understand, like the truth of suffering, the truth of origin of suffering, which is what? What is the origin of suffering?
Ignorance and afflictive emotions.
Huh?
Ignorance and afflictive emotions.
Okay, every ignorance is an afflictive emotion, but not every afflictive emotion is an ignorance. But yeah, it's right. But I don't know why you separate them, because ignorance is also an afflictive emotion. So sorry for correcting you like this. It's a bit cruel, isn't it? So yeah, afflictive emotions and our karma, our karmic imprints that we have created in the past. This is what is creating our suffering now. Like situations that you're totally overwhelmed, that you dislike, that, you know. Being poor, by the way, is not necessarily a ripening of negative karma. It's just by being poor that you kind of, some people see this as terrible, and some other people are quite happy that they don't have to worry about their money so much. You know, again, it's like, it depends what you, positive, negative karma, it depends what you make of it. Not so much, oh, all the rich have good karma. Yeah, they have many more possibilities to have an easy life, that is true. So it comes from having practiced generosity and so on. But that's not the only one. Then whether you're happy about you being rich or not depends on many, many other factors. You know, having practiced generosity purely, without any thoughts of wanting something back, and so on and so forth. We'll talk more about this. So the noble truth of origin of suffering, which is in Sanskrit, is like klesha and karma. Klesha is a good word because, you know, in English there's so many words. I don't know in Hebrew if you only have one. There's afflictive emotions, defilements, negative emotions, delusions. What else do we have? There's many disturbing emotions.
What is afflicted? What is afflicted?
Afflicted, Trina last night was afflicted. That means only afflicted, not spoiled yet, but afflicted. Means that some people could eat it without getting sick, some other people can't. But if you leave it alone, it will certainly turn bad. That is afflicted. Yeah. Something is already there, even though it's not so detectable, but something is already there that if you leave it, it will turn sour, kind of. That means not pure, afflicted. And all our actions, even the positive ones, are actually afflicted because they're done with the sense of I, me, existing from my own side. Huh? Oh, okay, good. Did everybody hear? Polluted. We don't feel the pollution, but we know that there is pollution, but it doesn't seem to be a problem, unfortunately. But it will certainly turn into bigger. It turns, you know, the problem becomes bigger. At the moment we still say, yeah, but look, it's okay. But it's not. It's afflicted. It's polluted. Yeah, it's kind of, it has the potential to, you know, or sometimes also people can be sick. They can carry a germ with them. But there's nothing apparent yet, but the germ is there, and if you're not applying an antidote, it will turn into suffering. That is afflicted. Then the noble truth of cessation of suffering, which is like not just the cessation, it should be also the noble truth of cessation of suffering and its causes, because if we don't cease the causes, I mean that the pollution is man-made, that the global warming is man-made, that we are the cause for this. Do we know that? Can we accept that? So then the only way that we can reverse it has to come through man also, not through something else. Nature cannot defend itself anymore. It has to come from us also. But as long as we don't stop the causes, the global warming will not stop, so that's very clear. So this goes for this also. It is possible to stop the suffering if you stop the causes, and it's also possible to stop the causes. And then the noble truth of the past, this is what we are looking at now. That this kind of path, there's many different paths. Yeah, there's Eightfold Path, there's Five Paths, there's this path, that path. So again, it's like you have a big choice there. In order to actualize this, the noble truth of cessation of suffering, you need what is called 6 factors. They're not in here. I should have put them in here, but you know, this is how One sees it, and then one says, oh yeah, next one, I have to put that in. So in order for something to happen, you need a cause. Which, without a cause, nothing can exist. And the cause for cessation of suffering is our Buddha nature, in Buddhist terms, meaning the clarity of our mind. Yeah? Like the water can be clean again, because the pollution is not one with it. The pollution is not in the nature of water. Yeah? That's why we can reverse this whole pollution. Because it's not one with the air, it's not one with the water, whatever, it can be taken out. And it's the same for our mind. Because by nature our mind is pure, it can be purified. It can be the afflictive emotions, the causes for the suffering can be taken out. If our mind would be polluted, if the water would be polluted by nature, there's nothing we can do. Do you see what I mean? Do you understand? Okay. So the cause for cessation of suffering is our pure nature, that the mind is pure by nature. It's covered with afflictive emotions, so the water is not such a good example because the pollution might be mixed with it and you can't take it out anymore. But the mind, the afflictive emotions, even though they're also mind states, but they're not mixed with that pure nature mind, they're just covering it. Like sand and water. Yeah? Sand is a better example. You can take the sand out, you can filter it out. But you need a method to do that. So what is the other factors? You need a method, or you need the base, it's called, which is our precious human rebirth. A rebirth, we will go through it, if we have time, yeah. We will go through it, the factors, what it is. You need certain factors present in your life, conditions, that you can do spiritual practices. If they are absent, it's impossible to do. We'll look at them like this morning. So that's the base. In order to attain cessation of suffering and causes of suffering, you need what is called the precious human rebirth, where you have enough freedom and enough leisure to kind of give a lot of time to working with your mind. That's the basis. A contributing cause, something that is also very important, same as if you want to have a flower, the contributing cause for the flower, like the cause is the seed, which is of the same substance. The contributing cause is the earth, warmth, and moisture. If that is absent, if you only have the seed, nothing will happen, or you won't have a flower. So the contributing cause to cessation of suffering is the spiritual friend. Somebody who gives you instructions. And this is the next factor, meaning you need a method. You need to know how to do that. Then the next factor is the result. What will be the result? The result is full awakening, like having actualized the noble truths of cessation of suffering, or even gone further, because that is nirvana, but even gone further to having developed the mind to its fullest potential. And that is something that is not exotic or strange or high up there. That is something that is normal. Normal, not so much in the sense of the norm of beings, but it is natural. So the mind of a fully awakened being is at the height of its normality, because it has absolutely no wish to harm anybody and only has the wish to be of help. Do you think this is natural in human beings? What is your name? Michal. Michal is nodding. Do you think she's right? Okay, if you doubt, when you help somebody, let's just, a child fell down, it's not yours, but you pick it up. Do you think this is natural? Of course. Come on. I mean, you don't need to have like high philosophical, you do this in a very natural way. Yeah? Do you think harming is natural? No. How do you feel when you harm somebody else after you calm down and you become aware that you're done? We even say, I'm so sorry, I wasn't myself. So that's what we're trying to attain here. A mind who uninterruptedly, spontaneously, effortlessly, doesn't that sound nice? Because now I need to make effort to generate compassion for difficult people. So effortlessly, continuously, without any, even thinking about it, naturally reaches out to all beings if it's necessary, and has absolutely no wish to harm. Does that sound a bit more attractive now, to go on this path? Could you imagine? But then, you know, of course, freedom, peace of mind, all is there. It all comes in one package. So we're not trying to develop something not natural. We're actually trying to develop our natural purity of mind so that it can come out. So that is the result. Is like the fifth factor. And then the activities of such a mind is to be of benefit to others. And at the same time, as you are of benefit to others, of course you're of benefit to yourself. Without self-concern, that it goes also in one package. That's the activity of a fully awakened mind, to be of benefit to others. And not just to give them bread when they're hungry, or ice cream when they're full of desire, or a beer when they're totally out of it in order to calm them down. So again, it's like not only healthy things. Sometimes a beer can be quite helpful when you're totally kind of restless. One, okay? As medicine. Sometimes even meat, you know, and I don't hate to say that, but let's be open and let's be practical. If you're very restless and you have a lot of tension here in the heart, the Tibetan doctor would tell you to go and eat a piece of meat, small one, as a medicine, because it grounds you. And I experienced it. It helps. It's true. It makes you more grounded, yeah? Less stress. So even that can be medicine. But then when you eat it, you're fully aware that the being gave his life here for you to calm down. And then, you know, may my life become meaningful so that this being didn't die for nothing. You know, if you just eat meat mindlessly, then of course they died for nothing. But if you say, I'm eating this for to have a healthy body, then I don't know, you know, might be even more beneficial than a very arrogant vegan who kind of goes around criticizing everybody. So like that. So the thing, whatever you eat, like, make your mind meaningful, then your life meaningful, then it doesn't matter so much what you eat. But yeah, you shouldn't mindlessly contribute to the suffering of animals, of course. So I'm not kind of making propaganda for meat here. I'm just saying, even that sometimes can become medicine. Yeah, they are.
Could you please repeat the 6 factors?
Okay. It's the cause, which is Buddha nature. The base, which is precious human rebirth. The contributing cause, which is your guru or a spiritual teacher, which gives you instructions. That becomes the factor method. The result will be full awakening or Buddhahood, and activities will be to benefit others, to lead them to that same state. For those who have a bit, Uttara Tantra, for example, you have the 7 Vasha points, is very similar to that. This is from Gampopa's Jewel Ornament of Liberation. It's not from the Lamrim, but I found it very helpful. So that's why. You got those 6 factors? Okay. So what we'll do, we'll bring a sheet of paper, then not now, and then in the break or something, and then I write it down, so then you can copy it out. Also, you will hear it again and again and again and again and again. We'll go into each factor kind of separately. The way that this you have in your book, so you can relax again. This you have in your book here. Is page 3. The way that this practice, what we call Lamrim, the graduated path of enlightenment, is kind of structured, is in 3 levels. So each level is more difficult, and each level has a higher goal. But if you don't start at the bottom, you cannot go to the top. Yeah, so it's like stairs. So the lowest level, as the goal is the next rebirth, is not in a lower existence. your next rebirth, not this one. Now we have a very good rebirth. Okay? So you do we come to that, so don't worry so much. We come to what it is. What are those practices in the lowest level? This is what we do today and tomorrow, also tomorrow in the morning. The middle one, as goal, is to get out of this compulsory, uncontrolled rebirth again and again and again and again. Yeah. So the first level is just to have a good rebirth every time, like not in the 3 lower states. We'll come to what it is also, just in a minute. Huh? And the next one is to be free from this uncontrolled rebirth again and again and again and again. Like even a so-called good rebirth is not good enough anymore, because we contemplate what is also happening in a good rebirth, the negative side. First we contemplate the good sides that we have, so that we build ourselves up, and then we look at the negative sides. So it's very skillful, this whole thing. Yeah? And then the highest goal is your own enlightenment, to lead all beings to that state. I mean, it's written here. This is why some of it is written in your book. So that is the highest scope. So then we go in steps. Very briefly, what it says here is that, the foundation of all good qualities is the kind and venerable guru. It says at the beginning of that structure, of the prayer that we did. So here you have the 10 qualities of a Mahayana guru and the 5 qualities of a disciple. Now this is for people who already, are looking for their guru and haven't found him yet. But I think it's not so relevant for the people who are here. You don't need a guru yet, okay? When you go out to try to find a guru, then you need to know what this guru is teaching and that this path is for you. Because otherwise, if you go with your ideas, what you want to practice and what you want to learn, if I want to learn how to cook pizza, I am not going to ask a Chinese cook. And they get upset that he's teaching me how to cook chow mein. You see what I mean? Yeah. So you will need a guru at one point. You will need an instructor, like a personal instructor. It doesn't mean that you're the only disciple, but somebody that you really trust, somebody that you have a feeling that this person sees more than, I don't need to tell him or her what's going on, and they see more. And to trust the tasks that they're giving you, or the methods that they're giving you, which can be quite, upsetting totally your life. So for that, you do need to trust your guru. Also, this guru needs to be trustworthy, because it's coming more and more. At the moment in Switzerland, this whole thing about yoga teachers who are abusing their disciples, kind of sexually, okay? So that person has to be trustworthy. Also, there's Buddhist teachers who are not trustworthy, who abuse mentally, physically, sexually, and also money-wise. So this is why here you have these 10 qualities of a Mahayana guru, that it's your job to check it. Because of course if somebody is, sometimes, these gurus, sometimes they're so deluded that they're actually thinking they're doing something good to you. Like a yoga teacher saying, my semen will be the medicine for you. Yeah? And I have to say, sometimes also, especially vulnerable people, they don't have the strength to say no. This is the problem, yeah? Or sometimes they don't listen when you say, be a bit careful. They say, he chose me as his consort, now you were jealous, or something like that. All this is happening in this whole thing when it comes to Tantra, where sex is actually used as a method also. So before you go there, make sure you know what it is for, yeah? And who your guru is. So here you have these qualities of a Mahayana guru. We can briefly go through them. He should be subdued by ethics. Of course, he shouldn't do anything that is unethical. So if he tells you to do something unethical, or he does something unethical with you, please ask and say, spiritual practice is about ethical conduct. Why are you asking me to do these things? I don't understand. He might give you an explanation that suits your mind, and then you say, okay, For example, like who was it? Tilopa who asked Naropa to jump off the roof. He did. He attained enlightenment. Yeah? But Tilopa was very realized, because when the first time that Naropa saw his guru Tilopa, he was frying fish. So he thought, oh my gosh, what is this? He's eating fish. But then the fish jumped out of the pan and went into the water again. So if your guru is able to do that, then, if they're claiming supernatural powers, ask them to show them. That's not disrespectful. Pacified by single-pointed concentration, that's another aspect you should have. Thoroughly pacified by not grasping at the separate self. Has more qualities than you have, yeah, of course. Then perseverance, like not giving up, not saying like, oh no, well, there's no hope for you, and not liking you, and just saying go and find somebody else. Skilled speaker, to have love and equanimity. Has given up disappointment, like even if you're very lazy, they still look after you. So these are the qualities of a Mahayana guru. Okay, so how can you get to know that? By being with these people. So you might have to move somewhere. You can't just wait for these people to come where you are. But you don't have to worry about that so much. This is only for people who are quite advanced on the path, feel lost because there's so much to practice, and don't know whether they should go into retreat or do this or do that or whatever. Then there's also a disciple who needs to have qualities. To be honest.
Can I just ask what does Mahayana mean?
Yesterday we said there's certain goals. One is Hinayana or Theravadin, or the founder vehicle, which is like the second level here, self-liberation from cyclic existence. Mahayana means that you want to attain enlightenment, and then you come back again and again and again and again until everybody else is enlightened. Okay? But I would say, it's not just Mahayana guru, it's like all the gurus, even a yoga guru should have these qualities here. Yeah? But also as a disciple, you should have qualities like should be honest, like not hiding your mistakes that you're making, not attached to your own group, and not being hostile to other groups, meaning, yes, you practice in this group, that's fine, but there's other groups also who might practice the same thing, and then you might get jealous, or this or that, or there's other groups who practice something totally different. Like, concentrate on your practice and on your group. It doesn't mean you shouldn't go to other groups. To be friendly with other groups, sometimes I'm quite amazed how sometimes Buddhist groups, I don't know how it is here, but in Europe, how they're very friendly with the Christians and lots of interfaith conferences and all this, but very hostile to the Buddhist group of another Buddhist group. And I say, well, what are we doing here? I mean, it's like, what is this? Yeah, so like that. So not being attached to your own group, saying, wow, that's the best, and also not being hostile to another group. Then the wisdom to know right from wrong. So for that you need awareness. You need a mind that is fairly stable to know that. So then also the wisdom to know right from wrong, it's not that it's a very deep wisdom of emptiness, it's a wisdom that comes from studying the texts. So then you can check whether this guru is saying something that really comes from the text, or whether it's something that is totally opposite. Like when a guru comes and says to a monk or a nun, oh no, the Buddha says, the same sex is okay for monks and nuns. It doesn't lead to attachment. You should use it. So then that would be not something that comes from the Buddha. Yeah, that kind of wisdom. Yearning for the teaching. So that means you give everything up that would hinder your yearning for the teaching. Your teaching becomes priority. You see, the same way so it's not the teachings that becomes priority, but your mental health should have priority. And knowing that the teachings are the medicine for your mental health. It's the same way, if you're very sick, like for example you are HIV positive, taking these medicines, they have side effects. I don't know if anybody has made the experience. I haven't, but I know it from people who take it. It has side effects. On top of it, it's very expensive. So these people feel very guilty that they take so much, because health insurance in Switzerland is going up and up and up and up. So I know somebody who has HIV, is HIV positive, and it's very expensive, these medicines. So he feels guilty that other people have to pay for him. But still, he's taking them. Why? Because he wants to stay alive. Yeah. So if these medicines run out, he would have a yearning for these medicines. Do you understand what I mean? He wouldn't give himself the choice like, should I swallow them or not? Even the side effects, he would, even if he has to drive very far, he would go and collect them. Yeah. Wouldn't say, oh no, the weather is too nice, I'm going to the mountains today. I'll go tomorrow to collect them. He would go immediately. Yeah. Do you see what I mean? Okay. Yearning for the teaching, meaning the teachings will become the medicine for your mental health. And what is very beneficial if you have a yearning to be mentally healthy, because then you do go to the teachings and also then you put these teachings into practice. It's difficult, spiritual path is difficult, so we need to constantly think about the advantages of it so that we're able to bear the hardships. So we're just attached to pleasures and the happiness in this life, you will not go very far. Because you will have to give up quite a lot of things. Normal pleasures like, going to the beach with the family all the time, maybe 3 minutes, or sports and movies and all these kind of things. Then having respect for the teacher, that's another quality of a disciple, and listening with the right motivation. So basically what we said before, these 3 levels, they're sometimes also called motivations. So some of you might be here because you want to be happier now. That is your motivation. That's okay. It's totally legitimate. But then it's only for this life. So at the time of death, finished. So it's a bit of a shame. Whereas, so in Buddhist terms, at least the lowest motivation, not even for the happiness of this life, but it's like to be careful not to create actions that will cause a lower rebirth. Yeah, that is what is your motivation. And then how to do that, this is what we discuss today and tomorrow. Yeah, so that's the lowest motivation, like listening with them. So you would listen to the teachings with this motivation, not to have a lower rebirth. Yeah? Or you could listen with the motivation of getting out of samsara. Or you would listen with the motivation, how can I give help to all sentient beings? So you choose what kind of motivation you want. Yeah. If you want to have the highest motivation, but you listen without the 2 lower motivations, then it won't work. You will crash. It's very noble to think, oh, I want to benefit all sentient beings. And it's not because you're so noble, it's because you owe it to them. Why? We come to that also. Is that more or less clear, what I just said? Okay. So then actually to start with the spiritual path also, it's quite helpful to have this, what is called some attitudes. Okay? Like the attitude, as I just said, being sick. We're all sick. You're sitting here and you think, me also, we're thinking that we're healthy, isn't it? But we're not. As long as we have negative emotions, we're sick, because these negative emotions, they distort. Yeah? So listening to teachings, if you are a patient, and listening to teachings, if you think you're not sick, is totally different. If you go to a conference about HIV or AIDS, and you have AIDS, you listen with a totally different motivation than somebody who needs to study because he wants to become a doctor. Or somebody who is just, it's interesting. Yeah? So like this. So again, the strength of your practice and what it will give you, your whole, going to the teachings, that depends on your motivation. This is why motivation is so important. If it's just, out of interest, I want to know what Buddhism is. I'm not saying it's bad, but it most probably will not get you very far. That's the first one. So like understanding that I need to do something, I'm sick, and I don't want to be sick, I want to be healthy. And then if we have some trust that we can be healthy. You see what people undertake to have a healthy body. I changed my knee, I have an artificial knee. I'm really asking if I should do the second one, if it's really worthwhile the pain. For 1 year I had pain, and now it's not as it's not that it's totally new and there's no pain, there's still pain, it's just different pain. I'm really wondering if I should do the second one. But if I see how much we can endure for the body and how little we can endure for the mind, whereas we all know that the mind is the source for happiness, quite amazing actually. How quickly we say, oh no, I can't meditate today, I have a headache, oh no, We give ourselves all these choices because we don't see